Hello folks, and I don't know what, right, so if you've watched video part 4, take 2. Hello, thank you very much for watching. So what is it? Take 3, and we are going to be take 3 from 50 seconds. So what is it for stammering that parents do that turn a disfluency into a stutter or a stammer? Keep watching, you're about to find out. Hello, thanks very much for watching. I'm Peter. I'm no longer a stammering therapist or a stammering coach. Well, I could call myself a stammering coach, but that would cost me insurance. I'm a screenwriter. I'm writing a film called James and the Giant Speech, but I'm putting these videos together because I care so much about stammering and I have such a vast knowledge. I've written a book called Stammering, Scarier than Voldemort, because, well, basically long story, you can win a copy, you can get a copy, you can buy a copy. So you have a child. This introduces the greatest concept of psychology I know about. It's called the vicious butterfly, which is absolutely beautiful. And this is where I put the clip and the photograph of a vicious butterfly. It's from cognitive behavioural therapy. Ready? Here we go. Now if there's any good at green screening, I'd put it on the back. So what, like a weather forecaster. So here we have, no. Oh, one day we're going to do that. Oh God, if I had somebody with brains who could make films, I'd love you. Anyway, so in cognitive behavioural therapy you have the one cycle. You have a thought that triggers a feeling, that triggers a physical response, that triggers a behaviour. Now where the vicious butterfly comes in is you have a thought by the parent that triggers a feeling in the parent, that triggers a physical reaction which triggers a response. Okay, so then when the child picks up on the non-verbal signals, and don't forget over 90% of all conversation is non-verbal. It's not the words you use, especially in English or British or American. It's not the words, it's how you say it, but also your body language. So if I'm talking like this, God, you're looking lovely today. Ah, you're so lovely. It's slightly different, the words and the intonation. Or I could really rip your head off. And it's the standard joke of somebody in a foreign restaurant where the person is speaking their own language, but the intonation and the smile makes it look like they're saying something lovely. So if I was to go, God, you're such a git, I could gladly rip your head off. Yeah? And they've done this sort of experiment with babies. Obviously a baby cannot understand the intonation, the language, but it understands the intonation. And I would argue that our cat, Rincewind, Terry Pratchett fans, thumbs up. No, don't do thumbs up. One of my cats copies my intonation on good morning when I open the door and it comes in, does Rincewind. I say good morning and he goes, meh. Well, that was a dreadful example. But, so, 90% plus is about body language and intonation. So you have a disfluent child. Can I have a drink? Now, the controlling parent. The parent, and this is developing transactional analysis and psychodynamic therapy. So this is playing into the parent's id against the superego and the child's id against the superego, but it's also the controlling parent against the nurturing parent against the child. The parent is not using adult in transactional analysis, and I'm getting very carried away with what's happening here. So the child comes up and goes, can I have a drink? Steady intonation, no prolongations, no sign of struggle, slow even repetitions. That is a disfluency. I would like a drink. I would like a sandwich. Can I have a sandwich? Will we go to the park later? These are normal development disfluencies. The controlling parent, the parents with super high standards, the parents who think, what will people think of me? What are people going to think when they hear young Amy, young Kieran, young Callum talk like that? I have to stop it. So the thought process is, they're stammering. The physical reaction, the feeling is anxiety, annoyance, irritation. So if they think, what will people think of me? Irritation. So they try to control the situation. And they say things like, slow down, take your time, think about it, take a deep breath. And for some kids you can do this. But if you are a controlling parent and your child is a compliant child, what this gets the child doing is thinking, thought. So the parent reaction is telling the child to slow down. The child, who's a compliant child who obeys the rules, thinks, I am doing something wrong. They feel stupid, they feel silly, they feel ashamed. They feel that they are letting the parent down in some way, shape or form. So what they then do is try and control their speech. That is a sure sign of a stutter developing or a stammer developing. If the parent is controlling and has lots of rules and has very high standards of behaviour, and the child is a compliant child who has the disease to please, who looks up to the mother or the father, who thinks they want to please that parent and don't do anything wrong or won't do anything wrong, that is where you get the disfluency turning into a stutter or a stammer. Two examples I'm going to give. There was a young lad in South Shields who was 7 years old. Dad worked away, so he loved his mother desperately. He would do anything for her. His behaviour was perfect. He was described as a perfect child. And he viewed his stammer, because it was a stammer, as wrong, as something bad. He viewed his stammer as letting his mother down. So he tried harder to fix it. And the harder he tried, the worse it got. So when I talk about the normal developmental disfluency, it went from can I have a drink? And then when you try and control it, if you're a young child, you start to stretch. Will you get me a drink? You try and stop it so it becomes a block. Will you get me a drink? And those are definite signs that the developmental disfluency has turned into a stutter. So another example is, I'd worked with a mother and we talked about fear, and we talked about compliant child, not using those terms. We talked about acceptance of disfluent speech. And this lad had had Lidcombe therapy. Now Lidcombe works, except if the child is a perfectionist. Perfectionism is caused by parents. Controlling parents with too many rules and too many high standards. It's been proven. Compliant child, look it up. What causes a compliant child? What causes perfectionism? Now, so what happened is the lad had had Lidcombe, where fluent speech is praised. So he had been led to believe that disfluent speech was wrong. Disfluent speech was bad. So I was working with the child. I did a bit of what I would call bumpy speech, disfluent speech, normal development of disfluency, to check the child's reaction. So I went, can you pass me the brakes? And he reached forward and put his hand over my mouth. And the third example I give is another situation, again dealing with acceptance of disfluent speech. Acceptance that disfluent speech is normal. And when I pointed out, I did a little bit of disfluent speech, and I said, is it alright to do disfluent speech? And he said, no, you better not do it again. And the fourth example, I had one lad who actually pointed at me, pointed at his mother, walked up to his mother when I said, oh, your mum does bumpy speech sometimes. He walked up to his mother and went, you don't do bumpy speech. These are all kids who, because of their parents, because of the parental reaction, because of the non-verbal communication, and because of the vicious butterfly from cognitive behavioural therapy, their disfluent speech had turned into a stutter. And this is why speech therapists have to stop and have to distinguish between disfluent speech and stuttering, or disfluent speech and stammering. Disfluent speech is the slow, easy repetitions. That's disfluency. It is the child and the parent's personality together in the vicious butterfly that determine whether that disfluency becomes a stutter, whether that disfluency becomes a stammer. You have a compliant child. Google it. Look up what causes compliant child. Parents with too many rules and too many high standards. You get that combination, the child will become a perfectionist. As soon as some idiot makes the child aware that their speech is disfluent by saying, slow down, calm down, take a deep breath, think about it, you end up with a disfluency becoming a stutter. You can argue with me, but you're wrong. And to quote Bill Hicks, you're wrong. No, shh, stop the internal dialogue, you're wrong. Stop. No, don't bother posting your comment, because you're wrong. I've seen it enough times. I've seen disfluent children, I've heard disfluent children stutter because they've been told to slow down, calm down, take a deep breath. Now, you can say it to some children who are not perfectionists. You can say it to some children who are more laid back. You can say it when a child has been brought up by nurturing, not controlling parents. But you put a child in an environment where the parents have high standards and the parents are perfectionists and the parents have too many rules and are too controlling, Duplo Farm, watch the video, and you will end up with a child who goes from a developmental disfluency to a stutter. I've seen it. Shut! No argument. Shut! I don't want to hear, but I tell my child to slow down and they're fine and they go out of their stutter. They stopped being disfluent. They did nothing to control their speech. It improved because their language learning ability improved. That's all. They didn't control their stutters. So no, shut up. Don't write your comment because it shows you're an idiot. So if anybody posts a comment saying that you controlled your child's speech by getting them to slow down, you're an idiot. Right? And I'll tell you about covert stuttering, covert stammering in another video. Right? Never met a stammering child who had their stammer cured by speaking slower. It creates a bigger problem. It sets up a bigger issue. I have helped lots of disfluent children by persuading them and instructing them that disfluent speech is acceptable. The children that developed stammers all were led to believe that disfluent speech can I have a drink is totally unacceptable. Go on, comment. Idiot. 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 Thank you very much for watching. As I've said before, I'm promoting my film James and the Giant Speech. Please subscribe. Please support me. This is the King's Speech for the 21st century, and it gets rid of the nonsense that are the old wives' tales around telling a child to slow down because it helps them in their stutter. I've seen it ruin lives. Thank you very much for watching. Shall I get off my soapbox now? Oh, there's my soapbox. I get very passionate. I'm a very funny guy, but I get passionate about stuttering. Thank you. Take care. I care about stuttering, and that's why I want to write this film, to put right the absolute rubbish that is understood or believed about stuttering. Oh, very quickly, with cognitive behavioural therapy we dealt with beliefs and fact, right? It's a belief that Barcelona are the best football team. It is a belief that X Factor is interesting. It is a fact that the world is round. It is a fact that I know more about stammering than you do. And it is a fact that telling some children who have controlling parents are likely to develop a stutter if told to slow down is a fact. Please subscribe. I want to get my film made. Thank you very much. Take care.